You've been a wonderful audience. Blackpool and all that. Oh. Well, hello everybody and welcome into this, well, it's nearly Tuesday, but it's still technically Monday's entertainment news. My name is Jonathan C. Walsh. I am your host on this experience, and to my left, as you can see down below see there, sorry, I've kindly supplied names. That's Stephen John McLaughlin. He's going to be the co-host on the stream tonight. Stephen, we are going to be discussing a sort of surprise release, I want to say. I wasn't aware of this. I don't know why I'm continuing to talk like that, incidentally. That's not my voice. I wasn't aware of this being a thing. I know you're a little bit more in touch with the sort of the happenings with James McCartney and the gang. But this was brand new information for me. I didn't realise this was a thing until you sent the actual topic over, and I think it was Zach Starkey who posted it on his Instagram, and it was the actual song. So, I mean, Stephen, the way I would frame this, probably aside from just discussing the actual song, which I've briefly listened over, I'd be lying if I says I'd listened to the entire thing through. The way I would look to frame this sort of discussion on this would be the possibilities moving forward. I don't know if this is the first time we've had this many Beatles, Offspring in one recording studio doing a song together, but certainly it's something I'd be up for hearing more of in the future, maybe doing albums, collabing, because they're really talented, man. Sean in particular, insanely talented guy. And what he's done with the sort of Claypool, Lennon, Delirium or something like that band, and working with another esteemed artist, doing really avant-garde kind of out there, eccentric music, but brilliant music, musically fucking great. I want to see more of that guy collabing with the likes of James McCartney and whatnot. But Stephen, what was your thoughts? Did you know about this prior to Mr. Starkey announcing it on his social media platform?
No, John, I found out about it this morning, just going through, I think it might have been on X or something like that, I can't remember. But yeah, as soon as I saw that, I just had to check out his Instagram just to see what the fuss was all about and what was going to present. And John, you and I, we spoke just before we came on as well, and talking about obviously James McCartney and Sean Lennon collaborating last year on Primrose Hill, which is it's an okay tune. It's nothing great, but it's not bad either, you know. And listening to this one, obviously Sean Ryder's involved, and when you hear it, you'll know he's involved. And we talked about that as well, because before we go into that though, John, the likes of Sean Lennon and James McCartney, you know, out with perhaps maybe a couple of albums from Sean, and Friendly Fire, I think it was called. Another one from about the late 90s, Photograph Smile. Yeah. Most of the stuff's not mainstream, and I don't know if it's deliberate or not. I'm not really sure. I don't think he really strives for, you know, the same sort of attention that his father, and I think James is very much the same as well. I think they just like and enjoy doing music, and whatever comes of it, if it obviously gets a public reaction, then fine. But I don't think they strive to become obviously the next Beatles, you know. No. So when the two are put together, there's going to be talk about it. But now there's a third one. Obviously, Zach Starkey has just been dismissed by the Who, retired by the Who. Some might say. Pete Townsend, and you know,
Pete I think someone wants to fucking retire. To be fair,
I think someone, I can't remember if it was a comment or if it was someone interviewing him, says, "Well, what about Danny?" And he says, "Why would I want to do that?" You know, I don't think he was intentionally wanting to try and get every Beatles son involved in this track, but I think it was just a case that he knows them, you know, and obviously a friendly sort of relationship with them all. And I know that Sean hangs out with Danny every now and again as well. So, but I don't think there's much appetite from all of them to do anything other than, you know, maybe perhaps do some experimental music, because I think that's what most of them do anyway. I think Danny's he's a fine musician, a great voice, clearly takes after his father, but
In many ways,
I don't
yeah.
think he's ever released anything, in terms of any original music that I know of. Don't shoot me if
I'll
he
search
has.
it up
I'm
briefly.
just not aware of any of his music.
But Stephen, the only time I've ever really seen Danny in a sort of musical light, if you'd like, would be performing at these sort of tribute concerts for his father, for other individuals, working on songs with a greater ensemble of musicians like Clapton and your man Walsh. I always forget his name. Is it Joe Walsh?
Joe Walsh, yeah.
Yeah, all these great sort of singer, songwriter, guitarist. He's on the stage and as part of a greater ensemble. And he almost kind of just, as you would blend in with the background when you're around Eric Clapton and Joe Walsh and guys like that. Insanely talented musicians. Just fucking unbelievable. Like generational talents. You put anyone in that setup and they're not going to stand out because those guys are on the stage. So, not shitting on him by any means, but certainly a really talented guitarist, much like his father before him. Obviously takes the likeness of his father. James McCartney, certainly back in the day when he was a lot slimmer. Obviously he's got blonde hair and he's not been blessed with the sort of follicular strength of his father, so his hair is starting to leave him, which I know all about, so I can't talk about anybody. But certainly back in the day he had a real resemblance to Paul. Now he's also got a little bit heavier and older. He's not looking as much. Sean, I don't give a shit what anybody says. I know everyone likes to talk about Julian Lennon being the doppelganger of John, but I genuinely do think Sean got a good balance between Yoko and John. I think he does look a lot like him. So from a pure, and obviously Zach's fucking the ringer of Ringo. It's ridiculous, but I think he's deliberately going out his way. I don't know if he has got blonde hair naturally. I think he may have, to be fair. Looking at his eyebrows, may take after his mother in that regard, because it's Maureen, isn't it? But certainly as an aesthetic, if they were to get together, they've got close enough resemblance that people would know, even if they weren't aware. That's fucking Beatles. Offspring of the Beatles. But Steve, what you touched on, I'm just looking at Danny, I'll get into that in a second. I would agree with that sort of rationale, Zach, saying why would they invite Danny in, because it has to be organic. You can't be forcing things like this. They have to want to do it and be willing and have something creative to get out there and make it happen. I'd argue this song isn't the best output I've ever heard. It's interesting enough, it's zany, but I really do think your man, I'm going to search his name up here because I'm going to butcher it. You'll know his name better than me, Stephen. Fourth spoke in the sort of wheel. Forget his fucking name. Sean Ryder. Yeah. Sean Ryder, he overpowers it. You can hear his voice throughout. It's like a fucking park life. It's like sort of borderline fucking Cockney, like English accent coming through. They're going to get at you. They've got you. It's like, just get this guy, you get him out. I want to hear you. Because we heard it on Primrose Hill. James McCartney's got a great voice. He's got a great voice. His vocals are brilliant. We know Sean's vocals aren't like John's, but they're still decent. So a strange rationale to bring this guy in. Understand he's probably outside his accent. I was about to say Zack Snyder. Zach Starkey, the most musically accomplished guy, the most sort of famous of the four. But I think he ruins the song for me.
You know something? I don't know if it's maybe an insecure thing that that Zach knew that he was bringing a Lennon and a McCartney into a Zach Starkey production, and I think perhaps maybe bringing Sean was just the buffer.
Yeah,
Sean Ryder, that is. The buffer just to take the focus away a little bit. In terms of the song, he certainly does that. It sounds like Black Grape to me. When I listen to that, it's not even the Happy Mondays, it's Black Grape. That's what I hear from that.
Drummond's brilliant though. Drummond's fucking great.
Sean Ryder, I don't mind him. I like a lot of his work, particularly with the Happy Mondays, but just in this, it's just a bit overbearing. As you said, John, it's when you listen to it, and I did read the article where they said the song more resembles a George Harrison song. I can't hear that. I think perhaps maybe because there's some spiritual sort of lyrics in there that people are just going, that's more George. It's nothing like George at all. It's fucking Black Grape.
For me, I did not hear George Harrison in that song at all. I heard, I'll have to sort of bow to your greater knowledge of Black Grape, Stephen. I've not heard anything. I think I've dabbled with a couple of the Happy Monday songs. You'd have to bring them up. I mean, whenever we get together, Stephen, in a sort of social setting for more than like 40 minutes, inevitably when there's drink phone, the songs come out. And we start like trying to do like guessing things. You'll play like 30 seconds or not even that, 3 seconds of a song. I have to guess it if I know it. I almost learn about eras of music through that. I've learned a lot of bands through you having it on a playlist and playing it, and I quite like to look at that. I go down a rabbit hole and discover it. So I probably heard some of their songs via that sort of side of things. But I did not hear George Harrison in this song. I certainly heard the sort of avant-garde stuff that Sean likes to dabble in, with the vocals in there and just some fucking great drumming from Zach. We know Zach's a phenomenal drummer. The guy's drummed with a whole litany of incredible bands over his career. I just find it really amusing, getting back briefly to what you says about Townsend and the Who retiring Zach. Zach's not even 60 yet. This guy's got fucking years left drumming. They're not in a position to retire anybody. They need to be retiring. They've been around way too long. This is going to be controversial, and I respect Pete Townsend. I love great guitarist, and certainly his rhythm guitar playing is underrated. Everyone thinks of his sort of great lead work, but he's got this way about him where he does quick little strums, and I know right away that's Pete Townsend. It's going to be controversial though, but of the bands that came out in that era, they're not even in contention for me.
No.
They're not even in contention with the Stones or the Beatles or even Led Zeppelin. For me, they are nowhere fucking near that level. I just don't get it. I can't really listen to an album of theirs. I listen to some of the hits. I don't get it with them. Maybe controversial.
And you can shoot us down all you want, audience, if you're out there. But I've never been a fan of the Who. I like a couple of their hits, but they're massive. And I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I just don't understand. In terms of musicianship, phenomenal. But in terms of hits, it doesn't do it for me. But it's all subjective, John. Just going back to obviously talking about the avant-garde stuff, John. You actually steered me in the direction of some of the Sean Lennon stuff, obviously with the Claypool, Lennon Delirium stuff, and just listen to that Blood and Rockets movement. The saga of Jack Parsons was a fantastic song, great bass work, very experimental. And there was another one as well, the Monolith of Phobos and Cricket and the Genie. That's the ones that sort of stand out for me.
No, but Stephen, what he's doing with that is the correct direction for someone of his sort of lineage, to use some mental fucking word from 700 years ago. When you've got a guy in your family, whether he's alive or dead, obviously in Sean's case, his father's sadly no longer with us, and even his brother, his half-brother's immensely talented in that field as well. When you come from that sort of background, you have to do something to differentiate yourself from the others. You're never, ever going to be able to stand up to the legacy of your father when it's John Lennon. So you have to go off and do something and explore a different avenue in terms of music and art. And certainly he's done that by doing the Claypool, Lennon, Delirium stuff and the other sort of projects he's got himself involved in. He's been off, done things left field, done things that are a little bit under the radar. And then when people discover it, they're like, fucking hell, this guy's got talent. Because he's so underrated. There's a group we're in and they just chat nothing but shit about him, say he's not got talent, he can't sing, he's not a musician. And I just scratch my head and say, clearly you haven't fucking seen this guy.
That's just people for you, that have a dislike for his mother. Let's be honest, we've seen it in a lot of these fan forums and stuff like that. But just in terms of Sean as a person, I don't, he's obviously a Nepo baby, and it's not his fault. When people attack, kids who are obviously the children of very famous people.
Yeah.
Kids didn't choose their parents, and they didn't choose to be here. You can't hold that against them, in terms of Julian and Sean. The most important thing for those two is their relationship, and they're a very close, relationship between both of them. And Julian, when he did come out, in the early to mid 80s, he was always going to have drawn that comparison to John, and it's something that he didn't ask for. And even with him on keyboards, and his stuff was a bit more up-tempo, I would say, probably just to sort of blend in with the 80s sound at the time. He could not escape it, in terms of looks, in terms of his voice. He just wasn't getting away from that. So he took up photography for quite a while before coming back to the music scene, in the late 90s. And he's came back again a few years ago with the album Jude.
Yeah.
And it is tough. And I think the only way that they're going to do any music together is this kind of stuff. Kind of stuff that obviously, Zach Starsky is producing. And I don't think we're going to get the Beatles sons doing straight rock. It's not going to happen.
And it's difficult for them, Stephen, as well, because
I think they're happy doing what they're doing. That's the thing, Well,
I mean, there doesn't have to be much. I understand you're dabbling with avant-garde and all these kind of weird art things, be it music or actual using a paint and a brush or a bucket, swinging it around, whatever the fuck they do with these sort of new wave arts. I understand there's a degree of sort of like talent within there, for lack of a better word, and there's experimenting, and it's not complete nonsense, so I'm not deriding it. But it allows them, if they go down that route, to explore something that's not so serious and not so easy to take pokes or jabs at from a critical standpoint. They can't go in and read the lyrics, and they're these sort of like Eleanor Rigby or In My Life style lyrics that have got real meaning and depth to them. And you can go over it and analyse it and see what they're trying to give to the world. With that song, they're just saying like snippets, repeating it, and it's kind of stylised, and it's put on top of a drum performance from Zach. I keep wanting to say Snyder, Starkey. Fucking change that name, Zach. It's annoying. Go to Zach Starr. It's much better. So I understand them doing that because, Stephen, let's be real here. When you're coming from their background, they haven't got the harsh upbringing of John Lennon in Liverpool or Paul McCartney or George Harrison or Ringo in Liverpool in the 50s and the 40s, where they were fucking poor as dirt, if that's even a fucking saying. I always butcher sayings, but they had no money. Even John gets famously slagged for staying with his aunt, like that was his choice. He wanted to be abandoned by his father and his mother. That was his choice. He wanted to live with his sort of slightly well-off aunt. She was middle class. She wasn't fucking rolling in it. She wasn't like aristocracy. Probably had a decent paying job. A house that's worth probably what, 150,000, 200,000 pound these days. It's very middle. So he wasn't this rich kid. He came from a rough environment, a very rough city. That shaped him, their life experiences, and that then poured out into the music, into the lyrics, into the sort of brilliance of them. When you come from a more genteel background, you're staying in a really plush, multi-level apartment complex and off the fucking sort of grandeur of Central Park in New York, aka the Dakota, then it's hard to then conjure up the experiences that your father had and then pour that into really interesting rock music. You're shaped your environment.
You're shaped, and just, going back to sort of Sean's previous work, obviously The Ghost of Sabertooth Tiger, which he did a lot of collaborations with his actual partner, Kent Mule. John, I saw a video of both of them. I think they were going through a record store and they were picking out their favourite records. Even just watching that, you get a glimpse of their sort of mindset when it comes to music. Very broad, and it's not mainstream.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even their musical tastes are different from their father's.
I mean, they're not going to listen to Chuck Berry or Elvis Presley.
To Gene Vincent and Chuck Berry and Elvis Presley. I mean, they'll like them, they'll appreciate them, but that's not what they were brought up in, just like you were saying,
Certainly,
and obviously
with
Sean, I think he's probably been exposed to even more with obviously, spending a lot of time with his mother in terms of more artsy music and far out sounds and stuff like that.
He touched on that, Steve. You can see the influence of his mother. And his sort of fashion and his musical and just the way that he lives his life. You can see the influence of Yoko on him, and that's a good thing. I hate this constant sniping and putting down Yoko as if she's this demon woman who came in and split the Beatles up. The Beatles had came to their natural conclusion. They'd done everything they could do as a band. They were grown apart. They wanted their own independent sort of stuff going out. They were fighting for airtime, or whatever you would call it, on each album that came out. They'd reached a conclusion. Even, I mean, George was splitting up with his wife. He was hanging about with guys like Eric Clapton and whatnot and getting off in his own direction, getting into transcendental stuff. We know the story of the Beatles' demise. I don't want to go over it again, but there's nothing wrong with him having influence from his mother, and you can certainly see that reaping the benefits now when you talk of Claypool winning Delirium and all this interesting stuff he's doing. I mean, his father liked to dabble on that as well. Revolution 9 and all the Carnival of Light with Macca back in the day, they certainly dabbled in that sort of stuff. So he's got the right balance, I think, from his mother and his father, and it's also paid off because he's got his own interesting sort of musical career he's followed into what is he, mid-50s, mid-40s now?
Sean's 50.
He's 50, crazy.
Julian's in his 60s already, he's mid-60s. And Zach's not that far off that either.
59, 50.
No, and Danny's, I think Danny's about 40, I don't know, 40.
He's 46.
He was born in 78 or something like that. So he's probably about, I think he's a couple of years younger than me. So
turns 47 later the year. 2 months.
So I mean, this want, and it's always been there. It's not a new thing. You know, obviously when Julian was doing his thing in the 80s, you know, people were like, why can't Paul, George and Ringo get Julian in, you know, and get out as the Beatles and stuff like that? Mental madness. You can't replicate that. You can't replicate what they did in that period of time, you know. And even the Beatles, if John had survived and George was still here, even them coming back wouldn't sound like they did, you know, in the 60s.
Steve, we've seen this with reunions.
Their environments have all changed, and they've evolved, they've matured as people, and it just would not be the same.
I mean, we've seen it with reunions in recent times. The Verve came back, it didn't work. Blur came back, I would argue it definitely didn't work because they're not anywhere near what they were. Off the top of my head, Stone Roses, you touched upon that the other day, just didn't work. We've seen the likes of R.E.M. constantly getting asked to them, they're not interested because it just would never, there'd be no real reason to do it, and we could never beat what we did before, and in actual fact we'd be shitting on our legacy because it can't be as good. So it just wouldn't work, and ridiculous to try and introduce Julian with the other Beatles. It's disrespectful to him.
There's a lot of people that would have liked the Beatles to carry on after 1970, and I've always said no. I'm glad they stopped when they did, because it would have just been ever diminishing returns. I think I can confidently say that that's what it would be, you know, because we've seen it with every other band from that time, whether it be the Kinks, the Who, the Rolling Stones. They can never recapture what they had in the 1960s. It's just nature.
Stephen, we've seen it with their solo careers. Let's get real here. I mean, brilliant careers, brilliant songs have come out, multi-decade releases from McCartney going into the 90s, great songs, but nowhere near the consistency of what they did in the Beatles, and never quite hit that level. I mean, I remember an interview from Keith Richards saying that whilst he enjoyed the output of Lennon and Macca and whatnot after the Beatles, never hit the levels they got to, and people were shitting on him, saying that's disrespectful, what you're talking about. He's fucking telling the truth. They didn't. You tell me one sort of solo song, maybe you could maybe pick a handful at most from the four of them that would have fought for a Beatles album.
Would believe that everything that Paul McCartney shat out is gold, and it's not. It's just not, and that's not any.
He's done some fucking great work.
Because every album that he's brought out since the Beatles, there's always been a great song on it. Yeah. There's always been a great song. Every album. But as you said, it's consistency, it's not there.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have that other person telling him, that's not very good. And same with John as well. He didn't have that other person critiquing him. So it's just, that's what happens.
And your life experience changes as you get older and you get richer, and you're not having the sort of things happening to you as a youthful mind that that inspired all this creative output. As you become more relaxed and rest on your laurels and you're sitting in a big house, you've got everything you could want, your output's not the same. It's just something we've seen with Oasis as well. They were so powerful, the message and the songs they were putting out in the first 3 albums, and then it just dropped off a cliff. And it's never quite been the same. There's still the odd great song.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how we got here from that song, by the way, incidentally, but every time you talk about the Beatles, you can go on and talk about 70 million fucking things, because it's so interesting.
I think the point is, that there's expectation on these boys.
Yeah.
I'm saying boys, they're all men now, they're older than me, but there is this expectation that if they were to form, they would just replicate what their fathers did, and it's not the case.
No.
Different environments, different experiences in life, as you said, and this song, it's not a bad song, but it's not great either.
No.
It's just, it sounds very experimental, and I think that's its purpose. It's not for mainstream, it's not for Paul McCartney fans to sort of,
But would you want to see, Stephen, the likes of Danny getting involved at some point and them doing like some weird off-piece kind of album, like experimental thing? Would you like to see, having said everything we've said and the expectations and whatnot, is it something you'd still like to see them dabble with, though, if there was a desire and it came together organically instead of being forced in a room because, well, we're the sons of the Beatles, let's just fucking, everyone expects us to do it, let's do it.
Yeah.
If it came together organically, they all had this sort of interesting idea to bring to the table, is it something you'd like to see? Because I think there's enough talent there, and there's enough multi-instrumental stuff going on, guitar, bass, that they could sit. I seen James McCartney with a bass guitar, didn't know he played bass. But there seems to be enough musicality there that they could pull something out the fucking hat if there was a desire for it.
Interesting, John. I'll not say I would want it, but if it came, I would probably listen to it just to see what they would produce. But my expectations wouldn't be high. It wouldn't be, this is going to be the next fucking Rubber Soul or anything like that. It's never going to be the case, and people need to get that out of their heads. Different music genres, different styles, different vocals, everything's different about them. The only thing that's sort of consistent is the surnames.
Yeah,
that's it. And the likeness, and then obviously occasionally the voices as well. But in terms of style of music and desire to write hits, it's not there. It's definitely not there. This is just obviously. I couldn't even tell you any Zach Starsky's singles or anything like that because I've not got that interest.
No.
I like him as a drummer, and I was aware of him as a drummer, in all these different bands. But in terms of his own work, I've got no interest in it, and I don't mean that in a nasty way or anything like that, John. It's the same with Sean Lennon. I enjoy a lot, but I don't know if I could sit down all day and listen to Sean Lennon's music. And James McCartney's the same. And James he comes across as a decent guy as well, but I just don't think he likes the limelight. I don't think he's comfortable in it at all. Every time I see him, on YouTube or whatever, he's quite I don't think he's a retiring type. He's very comfortable in his own sort of surroundings and enjoys what he does with music, experimenting with music and working with different artists and stuff like that, but I don't think he likes being the front and centre. He's totally different from obviously his father in that sense,
Who does massively yearn for the spotlight. What was I reading? He does. It's a fact. It may have been something about George Harrison and how he resented, not maybe resented is a strong word, but he disliked that part of Paul's personality, where he always yearned to be with the in kids of a new generation of music coming up, be it Michael Jackson in the 70s, 80s, Kanye West most recently, and Rihanna. Always want to be around the sort of new kids on the block and trying to stay relevant and looking for that attention from a new generation. And he always fucking hated that because he's like, look, that's not what we are. We're our own people. But then George was different, wasn't he? Because he just didn't even like looking back at the Beatles. or anything like that. You could see that even in the anthology. He was probably the more reluctant of the three living members to actually delve back and go over it. And you've seen him kind of cringing watching This Boy and things like that. He was just like, it's done, move on. So, yeah, I mean, he's certainly... fucking Marcus certainly yearns for the spotlight.
I think in terms of George, I think his experience in the Beatles was obviously different to John's and different to Paul's.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of, certainly in the later years, he obviously saw it in the Peter Jackson Get Back film that, you know, that he was put down quite a lot, and I don't think it was intentional. I think it was just the egos of John and Paul at the time. You know, and I think it reminds him, you know, talking about it at that period, because he's not very comfortable talking about from probably about 68 onwards with the Beatles, and you saw that in the anthology, you know, and I think he's a guy that just moved on a lot quicker than the rest of them. When it came to the Beatles stuff, I think he moved on to obviously his film producing and doing his own solo stuff as well, and great friends with obviously the Monty Python crew. You know, and you saw it in the concert for George, the amount of friends he had in the music industry, you know, that everyone that turned up to honour him. But I don't think he was that hung up about wanting to stay relevant and stay famous. I think obviously the murder of John Lennon shook George quite a bit in terms of public appearances and stuff like that. I think he really did become a recluse after that. Whereas as Paul, I think he didn't tour for maybe about 2 or 3 years. I might be wrong, but he couldn't wait to get back out on the road again, you know. So they were totally different people in that sense.
Stephen, you know what I can't believe, getting off piste here, because I'm just looking at the sort of talents of the Beatles. Offspring, for lack of a better word, but obviously you know of the musical side of things with obviously Zach and Danny and Sean and obviously Julian and whatnot, James. But you look at the talent, man, I mean, it's actually astonishing when you start looking into just how, I mean, you can say it's down to nepotism, but I'd actually say that that's not the case, because there's only so far nepotism will get you before ultimately your own talents are found out, or lack thereof. Lee Starkey, fashion designer. Obviously, Zach Starkey, musician, played with multiple legendary bands. You've got Jason Starkey, I don't know if he's anything of any real note. Probably not, but I mean, he's probably the only one. You then go on to obviously McCartney's side of things, and James is a sort of musician and songwriter. Beatrice, youngest still to come into her own sort of way. I'm going to bring her up, by the way, because this is another Paul is dead fucking death knell.
Yeah,
Jesus
Beatrice,
Christ.
Yeah, that's Heather Mills' daughter, isn't it?
She's the fucking ringer for Paul.
Yeah.
But she's obviously younger there. She's changed a bit now. But Mike, there's a photograph I'm going to bring up. That's Paul McCartney, 1963. Stella McCartney, legendary fashion designer. Mary McCartney, photographer, filmmaker. They're just unbelievable. The talent of the kids of the Beatles. It just shows you that it's not limited solely to Paul, John, Ringo and George. That sheer brilliance they have gave out in their genes to their actual kids as well. I mean, it's just astonishing, the careers and the lives they went on to live. I'm going to try and bring this up. This is fucking incredible. For anybody that says that, what was he called again? I always forget the fucking name. Billy Campbell. Tell me that's not Paul McCartney's fucking... I mean, look at that. Look at her. Look at the eyebrows, look at the eyes, look at the nose, look at the mouth. That's
but then
fucking...
you look at Paul's grandson as well, Arthur.
Yeah.
I think it's Mary's son.
I'll try and bring it up just now. I've seen him. Very tall, but
it's incredible. Mary. Incredible how much he looks like his grandfather.
Yeah, I mean, that's insanity. That is insanity.
Isn't it? Like that.
Try and bring that up in an actual proper image. I mean, look at that. That's fucking Paul McCartney. That's Paul McCartney.
Yeah,
so I'm not having this nonsense about the whole Paul is dead thing. I just find that to be a fucking joke. But that's a conversation we will have at some point. We need to do a deep dive into that. That's a whole other
Yeah,
thing.
we'll have to do a lot of research, John. We've done a lot of research, but just obviously to refresh our minds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But certainly, it's a conversation. I know you get very passionate about it.
Yeah, because I prefer the older stuff.
I don't believe it, and part of me wants to believe it because it's very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and just that sort of twisted side to me would love that to be true.
Yeah, but then that would mean that Paul had died, and that's fucking terrible, because it's Paul McCartney. But I mean, even if it did happen and they replaced him with this guy, which it didn't, because just look at his kids and his grandkids. But if they did, I prefer Phil. After, what was it, 67? Was it like 60?
I don't know about that.
66, 67? I know, but I mean, some of the stuff that came out afterwards was fucking unbelievable. Even his solo stuff, I've shot on their solo careers, but let them in. Band on the Run.
Yeah.
1985, I think, 1985, will ever do. Get into the, I mean, Maybe I'm Amazed. There's so many fucking incredible songs the guys put out into the universe.
Ram's one of my guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
I think it's like a fine album. It's very corny and stuff like that, but you know what to expect from Paul McCartney, especially that period. You know,
Calico Skies.
Enjoy this album. But I think it's a good album.
Though, Stephen, I mean, I've been listening to a couple of the songs as well. There's one in particular I'm going to have to bring it up to actually find the name of it. I've got it on my...
Long-haired lady. Yeah.
What was it called?
The one, Long-Haired Lady,
Yeah.
it's one of the ones near the end of the album. It's a fantastic song. It's really nice.
But,
it's really...
Even getting into the 90s, Stephen, with Flaming Pie. Calico Skies is a fucking unbelievable song. I think he sung that potentially about the death of Linda. I don't want to say that was the case, but I think it was round about then.
She died, John, so...
Yeah, because I think they were out in the desert, weren't they? They had like a little humble house out in the desert he was kind of frequenting at one point. I don't know if that's what he's singing about, but I remember reading the book, and it was a dark time for the guy, but I mean, you can't do down the output. So for me, Fall's that even better than Paul. So don't know what to say about that. I can't find that fucking song, and it's doing my head in that I can't find it. Ram. Maybe Heart of the Country.
Like that, John.
Yeah,
it's
Heart of the
very
Country.
Blackbird, and yeah,
Classic
That's a
Maca
good
melody in there. Yeah, but Stephen, I mean, look, the song, getting back to the song was fine. It was okay. It wasn't anything earth-shattering. It was kind of experimental. Ruined by your man Sean Ryder. Shouldn't have been on it. Completely killed it. I'm like, what is this voice that's coming through? And then I looked him up. I'm like, fuck. Get him in the bin. In this one song, I'm not talking about in general. He killed the song for me. But I would definitely be interested in seeing these guys collabing and doing something different in the future. Obviously, they're getting on in years, so if they were going to do it, they'd have to do it pretty fucking quickly. Otherwise, what are they going to sing about? Wearing incontinence pants and getting out and having a scone with cream and jam in the backyard, looking at the rain teeming down. Also, this is for James and, well, maybe not Zach. I think he's based in America with his father and whatnot, but and certainly not Sean because he's in New York. So I don't think they even know what a fucking scone is there over there. But what are you going to sing about? You get into your 60s and 70s. I mean, I don't know, because I'm not that age and I don't ever want to think about it, to be honest with you. I don't want to think about that. That's horrifying.
I mean, Paul's been writing songs. I mean, he did Egypt Station a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it was in his 70s, late 70s. So
Yeah.
that was a good album, John. So
Yeah, I mean, when did that? 2007. He was born in 42, so he'd have been mathematics horrendous. Had it 65. 65 when he obviously brought out Dance Tonight and songs like that. It's a fucking brilliant song. One of the best Macca songs that's ever been released. Iconic. I mean, that fucking thing. What was the instrument, Stephen? I think I actually bought you one for your Christmas one year. Mandolin. Yep. Yeah. Just a cracking little tune. So yeah, I'm talking shit, as I always do. And then people are like, oh my God, I'm cringing with embarrassment about what this guy said. I mean, fucking hell. You need to read up and get educated. Don't take it that serious, mate. I don't. Literally talking shite on the internet. Don't worry about it. It is what it is. If you start taking what I'm saying serious, then you're in trouble. It's like the Harrison Ford infamous quote to Mark Hamill, if they're looking at... I can't remember what the fuck he said. I'm combining Chewbacca wearing pants and they're like George Lucas with him talking about if you're looking at your hair, kid, then we're in trouble. I'm combining two different moments. This is why you shouldn't take me serious on any level. But anyway, man, I cannot believe we went nearly 45 minutes talking about that. We did have two other topics, incidentally, and they were fucking very good topics. But I sadly took way too long getting this show set up. I just cannot believe Batman Begins is fucking 20 years old. What's that?
Try to find that image of James
McCartney. I could not. Oh my God, man. No harm to James, but I was trying to get a decent image of him. Oh, it took about 20 minutes. And I would argue, not the best image. I actually did dig out, and then I'm going to bring it up. Have a look. My dog's farting. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Listen, see some of the images Stephen's got of me from, 10 years ago? I can't be poking fun at anybody in their hair. Because I've got some truly horrendous ones. I look like Ralph. Ralph, is that his name? From The Simpsons? Is it Ralph? Yeah, I just I look weird as fuck. I look just mental. Hair getting pulled down from every conceivable angle to try and create a thick fringe. It's not working. Just look like you're wearing a German helmet from World War II. Forget about it, son. Half a can of hairspray to stop wind throwing it out the way. See, when you're getting to that level, it's over for you. I digress, though. I'm waffling. Going to round it up. What is your thoughts on Les Beatles' sons? Well, 3 of them, because of course we've got many more. Have we got many more sons? I don't know how many sons we've got outside of the prominent sort of 5 that I'm aware of. I don't know how many other sons there is. I digress. The 3 that matter have collabed and they have created a song with The 3 that matter. Julian wasn't there, so he doesn't matter. We're not talking about him. He's not relevant to this conversation we're having right now. Sean is. And look, if I was to choose, I'd choose Sean for sure in terms of output. No harm to Julian, but I prefer Sean's output. He's a cool looking guy as well. What's your thoughts on them putting this song out? What's your thoughts on the actual meat and bones of the song, of fucking the Raider guy's lyrics? Anything you want to share? Put it in below in the comments section. Anything else we've touched upon, be it the sort of brilliance of the other Beatles, kids, anything in between. Why they're perhaps not dabbling with future collaborations because of expectancy and all the other stuff that comes with being the son of a Beatle, of a famous person. Share it down below in the comments section. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyes on YouTube. Follow button, notifications button over on Twitch as well. It says live over there on a completely different platform doing the exact same thing. And all that's left to be said is until next time, thank you once again for watching us, and bye-bye.